Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. Hope you're well, who's listening and watching along. Joined by John and Francis. How are you both?
All
All
good, mate.
Stephen. All good. How's you?
Oh, I'm all good. I'm all good, man. Well, I mean, the weekend was good. The match was good. We missed some chances, but we're going to get stuck in that. There's people already in the comments. Shay67, great you're joining us. Jed Thomas, great to see you as well. And Kenny, good to have you along. I mean, we'll get stuck right into it, John. The league title basically is it's all but wrapped and ready to be open for Celtic coming back to paradise. But in terms of the game, as you always do, brief summary. How do you feel about it?
Listen, if you, all that really matters, right, is that they didn't win. They needed to win. That was the most important thing, and they didn't. So any result other than a win for them, I was happy with. I thought when we went 1-0 up, it was going to be a good day for us. We were going to coast it, but because I think we dominated that first half. But I'm happy with the result either way because it's just a formality now.
Yeah, I mean, John's right. Franny, again, I'm saying it. That's so weird now. I'm agreeing with you all the time.
Must be a Tuesday.
John's right. I mean, the pressure was all on Emmons. They had the win to keep any chances alive. Ultimately, ended up a draw. We both missed chances. First half, we should have kind of romped home. Second half, they come into the game. But as John said, we've done our job. Got the draw. The league's coming home, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it for weeks. Ever since we beat them at Ibrox, I thought that was league done. But even like obviously, if John says if they get a positive result on Sunday, I still, for me, I think the league would have been done because I didn't see Celtic losing or dropping points in the last 3 games to overturn the 3 point. But it's still, when it's 3 points, it's still, the pressure's obviously mounts a wee bit. But yeah, the game is sort of 2 halves of Rangers started pretty decent, and then we grew into the game and dominated especially after our goal, dominated the rest of that half. Yeah. Missed a couple of good chances. Started the second half not too bad, and then kind of got sucker punched. I think they scored when we were probably had our best sort of spell. Maeda was about 10-yard offside chance would have scored, and I don't know how he misses that chance, and that probably buries the game at 2-0. And but I think the substitutions at the time I wasn't too fussed about them because like Hatate, I think it was one of the first games I felt he did when you're looking at it, but I think it was more I'm looking at him thinking he's tired because obviously he's saying he's tired. It's that whole thing, like how I used to talk was saying with Taylor, when somebody expects him to be crap, the first mistake you're on him, and I think that's where we are with Hatate now because he's came out publicly and said he's tired. I was sort of,
you can see it though in Hatate.
I don't know if I'm kind of a wee bit blinkered with John because you're expecting him to be tired. You're kind of subconsciously expecting him to be tired, and he did. His touches at times were pretty poor, but I felt like I think if you had to see his number, I think he probably covered a lot of ground. His running was still pretty good, and so at the time of the substitutions and who the substitutions were, I thought they were good substitutions at the time, but I think it's total killed our momentum. We just had the absolute total opposite effect. But like these boys have said, if you offered me 1-1 at the start of the game, I would have reluctantly taken it. You always want to win these games, especially what was on offer, the fact that you could all but seal the title. Granted, I think the title's all but sealed, even with a draw, but like we were obviously sitting in Mabit after it. It was a weird sort of atmosphere because half of us were happy with the result, half of us weren't, because like you say, you want to win the game, but then you're trying to put it into perspective going, I bet we're that close. It was kind of, well, for me and obviously John, it was crucial you didn't lose the game.
Yeah.
So it was a weird one, Stephen. It was a weird feeling it was almost like you wouldn't want to celebrate a draw.
Yeah, that's what
no, sorry. I completely agree, Franny. You summed it up perfectly when you said that. It was a weird atmosphere because at the same time, you know that draw was enough. Because you know that shy a win for them, then the league was in the bag, so to speak, and you knew that was enough. So, I mean, you could celebrate it in a sense, but at the same time, like you say, we should have won that game. We should have had it done and buried.
Rangers could have won the game as well, but to be fair,
no. But I mean,
the game could have been put to bed in the first half.
If you score 2 or 3 in that first half and you take the chances that we had, then I think it takes the win right out of Rangers' sails.
100%.
And we just continue to control the game. But it's because it didn't, and they still had something to fight for. They continue to obviously push us, and I mean, we've been looking tired the past couple of games. You can sort of see it as you're getting into around about 60, 70 minutes. You can start to see performance levels maybe dip a wee bit. I don't know if it's just me, but from my perspective, it looks like, obviously, I mean, since Ange's come in, we know this whole we don't stop ethos that he's got around the club at the minute, and it's non-stop for 90 minutes, start to finish, these players. And you've got guys in the team, Maeda, Hatai, who we've already touched on. He's come out and said he's tired, and he's starting to look exhausted. And guys like that and I mean, Kyogo to an extent as well. The boys with Japan have come off the back of a full season in Japan and then another 6 months with us. I mean, Ideguchi's the only one that's had any real rest. But even at that, I mean, in training, he's still want to get, and I'm sure Ange's still pushing these guys really hard in training as well. So you can start to see, I think, a bit of sort of tiredness, a bit of fatigue setting in, and as the season's coming to an end. I think it's something that, in the long run, is something that will eventually be stamped out, and they'll get used to that. But at this point, this is like, it's a whole new thing for us in the style we play football. But I think you're starting to see it sort of creep in. But I'd like you said, it was a weird one because we did, to an extent, we still celebrated it because we know that's the league done. As long as they didn't win. At the time, I think like you said, we were a wee bit like a draw, really, because we wanted to win the game. Of course we did, but again, as time went on and we got a few more beers in us, we started to get a wee bit.
Aye, somebody's got beers in his.
That's right. Sorry, you were babysitting. But I mean,
I think as well,
the mood started to pick up a wee bit. I think once the realization started to set in, look, this is it. It's done now. I mean, what was it? I said it earlier on in the chat, and it was quite funny to think about that. Even if we draw the remaining 3 games, Rangers still need to. I know we still won't lose the league because Rangers would then need to score 20 goals and no concede any. And so, I mean, we're in a very strong position at the minute. We just need to win one, and that's it.
I think as well, the way you look at it, you two are right to point out the fatigue kind of issue. I mean, it's well known the players train the way they play. Every player who's come out in the press conference said that. So them fitness levels have to be on point every time they take to the field. And John's right again in terms of the 60-minute mark. You see that dip. But in terms of the first half, I'll come to yourself, Francis. Or John had a quite detailed point to make there. So fair play. But I mean, sit back with it. No, but in terms of the first half, I think we dominated. Yes, Rangers started good for 10 to 15 minutes to move the ball well, but when we got that goal, you can kind of see us coming into the game more, making more chances. We missed some gilt edge opportunities, and one of the calls that we were debating beforehand was Kyogo or Giakoumakis. He went with Kyogo. What do you think about
that? It's one of the, it's a hard one to, because you're looking at the benefit of hindsight, and it's hard because we don't know if Giakoumakis would have how he would have performed. I think we were always a podcast unanimous. We would have preferred Giakoumakis to start, just simply how he performed in the previous games against them. But I don't think Kyogo had a bad game, saying that, and I don't think any of us were disappointed when we seen Kyogo up front. And let's say on a different day, it could have been different because Kyogo missed, although he was offside, he missed a better timed run. He's got a great chance to put us to score a goal as well. I can't remember if we were actually at 1-0 at that time where Maeda cut it across them, but Kyogo had strayed in front of the ball and stuff. But it was, I would have preferred Giakoumakis, but it was one of the ones I wasn't disappointed with Kyogo. And yeah, the chances we did miss, like Jota's goal, Barisic has got to be hitting absolutely nightmares because that's a bad in. Jota both sneaked in at the back post on him, and he's got to be hitting nightmares about that. But you had, what was it then? You had Maeda's chance where I think he just needs to be brave. Be brave when he knocks it and take the hit, because it's what
that really that disappointed me that he didn't go all in for that. Like.
But it's one of the ones I don't think it's a natural reaction, I think, but in the sense that he's not deliberately pulled out. It's one of the things you probably do and realise after it going, I realise I've just taken the hit there. You just subconsciously sometimes pull out. You're scared of what's going to happen. I suppose you're scared of getting hurt, where you maybe shouldn't be. And if he just needs to be brave, and then he knocks it in the net, maybe takes a sore one. But it's sometimes it's what you've got to do. And
yeah,
I don't think he deliberately pulled out it, and it did shit the nest. But it was one of the ones. It's just it was a natural reaction. It was not subconsciously went in and went, oh, I'm putting that. It's going to get there. I think it's just one of the ones. And then Jota obviously has a good chance where he tried to sort of dive and header him. I mean, that was a really difficult chance, but has he got the chance to maybe bring it down and then bring it down the chest and that? So if you put either one of the two chances away and things like that, or even Kyogo times his run better, you've got 3 great chances to put that game to bed and stuff. And without going into the second half, they had obviously folk are making a big deal about the stats how we only had 1 shot on target. We only had 1 shot on target because we had a couple of poor finishing. It was simply poor finishing the reason we had that 1 shot on target, and they're going about how they had 5 shots on target. One was obviously the goal and one's a decent save for Joe Hart. The rest of them are the other 3 are routine saves. So I reckon on balance it was a draw's a fair result, but we had a really good chance to put that game to bed in the first half, Stephen.
Yeah, I think Ryan Kelly, just to add to your point before come to yourself, John, he says, starting to get over that feeling of feeling very fortunate not coming out of Sunday's game with a defeat, a hard-fought game that we probably should have been more comfortable in. John, I tend to agree with that because we discussed the first half there and you made some great points when you were speaking beforehand in terms of the chances we missed. We created some gilt-edged opportunities. Do you think sometimes the finishing needs to be calmed down a bit more? We've talked about Kyogo before, maybe snapping the chances. Maida seems to be falling into that bracket. The minute he had some wonderful chances to put his ahead. Is that a concern for yourself?
Nah, I mean, like I said, I think these guys, there's an element of fatigue starting to set in, especially for, say, your Kyogo and that. He's just come back from injury as well, but he's I mean, other than sort of recovering from the injury, he's probably been training hard and everything else. Maida's, I don't know how he manages to do what he does. The guy's unreal, but he must be feeling tired to an extent. And again, I think that it's just a case of it's not something that concerns me long term. I think that it's something once I've had see this after the season and I've had a break and they come back refreshed. I think we'll see Kyogo go back to sort of his best and scoring goals the way he was when he first came in. I think we'll see if hopefully we bring Maida in permanently, and this is something that we're going to be.
I think we have to, mate. I think we have to bring him in permanently. I think the deal was I think the deal was actually with an obligation to buy. It was just something to do with the work permit that they had to loan it to start with.
But as William says, until they're standing with the scarf.
With the scarf, aye. There's
that
many rumours, you just didn't know what the deal is.
But like I said, I mean, we saw the same with Paddy Roberts. We thought people were going to bring him in permanently, and it never ever came to fruition as well. So it's somebody I want to see us bring in. I know we're touching the Jota thing in a bit as well, but I don't think the striker situation and the kind of snapping at chances. I think that's partly there's an element of fatigue involved in that. I don't think it's something that they're just snapping at chances because they're not capable or whatever it is. I think there's just other bits creeping into the game at the minute. But it doesn't concern me. And like I say, we've done enough. And I just want to touch on the point you made as well about how many shots on target. See, at the end of the day, you can have 40 shots on target. It's how many you're putting in the back of the net. So they can sit and say, "Oh, but we had so many shots on target, but you only scored 1, so it doesn't matter."
It's like that. You've just got to you've got to look at stats. Stats can be interpreted to suit a narrative.
No, absolutely.
It's like when you bring it back to that game where we beat Barcelona, what was it? We had
like 91%.
And we still managed to do it. And I think Daniel Mackinson there.
Only the 2 shots we had on target that game were the ones we scored as well. So
yeah, exactly. Sometimes it's about efficiency as well in front of the goal. Daniel Mack comes in, Franny, and says only thing I'm there to complain about is sitting in when we take the lead against decent teams. I noticed that a wee bit. Now, do you think we discuss fatigue? Yes, we always start really fast and quick. We get the lead. Did you notice we drop back in terms of aggression? Because I definitely did.
I would say there was for spells we weren't passing it as quick as we normally do. We're still and maybe not breaking the lines as well, but I don't know if that's down to fatigue. You could sometimes you've got to credit the opposition, and they maybe just played as well and knew what we're doing. Because we're
very reluctant to give them any credit.
Yeah, especially when it's them, but when it's Rangers. But I think at times when you look at the game, they did sit off us a bit and asked us to break us down. Because obviously we've spoken at plenty of times when teams sit in on us, we do find it harder. I'm not going to say we struggle. We do find it harder, but when we're actually forcing that team back to defend, it's a lot different because you're then in the front foot. You're putting that team under pressure. They're not want to be in that position. But wherein Sunday, I think Rangers, not saying they wanted, but they were happy to sit back and say to Celtic, right, come at us, especially when maybe Kyogo up front. They know generally they might win most of the crosses. So it was, for me, I think it was maybe more maybe good tactics for Van Bronckhorst that he understood that it's a risk for him to maybe concede a bit of possession, especially in his own half and stuff. But I don't. It's not something I'm too concerned about, Stephen. I do agree that I don't think we passed it as quick as we normally do. I'm not going to deny that, but
I think as well, Anthony comes in, John, with a point that like there is yourself. Felt this as support, we were too quick to go on the players' back for every era. Very tense atmosphere. And some people agree with him in the comment section as well. I mean, I do believe the game, the magnitude of it, there was tension around it. As Franny said, it was a weird atmosphere at full times. You don't know where to celebrate a draw or to be a bit disappointed. But did you feel that when you were watching the game, the support kind of were getting, especially Hatate, the amount of times I heard moaning and groaning, it was like, come on, give the guy a break.
To an extent, but I mean that's not that happens in every derby game because you want you'll jump anytime there's been a derby. It doesn't matter where it is, unless you're absolutely you're coasting it and you're up 3-0 or whatever the case is. When the game's tense and you know what's at stake, as the guys are saying. It's like when we make silly mistakes, you tend to jump on their backs, and we're guilty as well, or some of your players are guilty of making silly decisions, and you're like, as a fan, and you're looking at it, it's easy for us to sit there and fucking, when we're not the ones on the park and having to deal with everything else, but it's easy for fans to sit and say, oh, what the fuck are you doing, and shouting and moaning and getting on players' backs, because we're not doing the job there. But I think that's just part and parcel of the game. I think Celtic fans do need to sort of chill out a wee bit, because even when you're in the lead, we're guilty of it. We just need to sort of relax and understand what's happening. But it's going to happen, man.
Yeah, 100%. And move on to some more positive issues. 6 points clear, Franny. Under pressure in the second half. Again, Celtic show their resilience, their defensive capabilities. And one player I want to mention is John's man, but I'll come to you first. Carl Starfelt, an absolute rock at the back. I know we'll have figures, but he was immense for me against Rangers on Sunday. He blocked everything. He headed things away. He was taking the ball under pressure. He was finding players with good passes. I just thought for me that was probably one of his most complete performances for Celtic.
Nah, totally agree. It's not many games you'll actually come out and say you thought he was a better centre half out of the two. I don't think Carter Vickers had a poor game, but it wasn't one of these. There was a couple of times I think he just got too close to Sakala, but I mean Sakala for 30 minutes turned into a world beater. So I think Sakala, it was just one of the games where Sakala was just it wouldn't matter who was up against him. He just seemed to get the bit between his teeth. But yeah, Starfelt, I thought, like you said, it's one of the comfiest performances I've seen him in that position. Because even when you see him strolling out for the back, we know it's evident that it doesn't really like it doesn't look like he likes a lot of time on the ball on that side to play with his left foot or control with his left foot. But he showed a lot of confidence and stuff with that. There was a couple of shaky. He had one dodgy back pass to Joe Hart where Joe Hart tried to kick out and tripped up in that. It was madness. But I don't. Apart from that Vieira, I can't really think of anything where it was heart and mouth stuff. I'm not even sure he made. I mean, somebody in the comments or that might correct me, but I'm not even sure he made one of these stupid wee fouls that he does where he's just that close to a defender and just fouls him. But it was a really, really good performance by him. Yeah. It was probably our best defender on the day.
Oh, I think so as well.
I would agree with that.
But McGrandon comes in before coming to yourself, John, saying, "Hey boys, the league is done. Poss has done a great job, 100%." Alistair Jack, absolutely. I think this is a great point as well, John, for yourself. People need to remember 31 points turnaround. And again, your man Carl Starfelt's been behind that as well, with Carter Vickers. The defensive played an important role. We have the best goal difference. I think still the best defence in the league. So domestically, we're still flying there. But just a few words on him, because like the lads are with Gregory, you're the same as Starfelt.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Gregory's a slightly different thing because he's been at the club and he knows what's expected of him, and he's played in Scotland for a while. Starfelt hasn't he? Was new in, and like any new player coming in, you're not just playing with a new team, new teammates, new country, and a completely new system that nobody was set in that team was generally used to, and people were jumping. Like as a defender, you're probably one of the most important positions on the field because it's your job to stop players for scoring, and it's a very, very difficult thing to do. And we as Celtic fans are very, very fickle, and we can be a wee bit too quick to judge. I'm guilty of it. I've done it. We've all done it. And I think that Starfelt, it maybe looked a wee bit shaky in his early games, and if you go back and listen to previous things, we were saying like just give him a chance, like let him try and settle in a bit, and he'll come good. I'm sure he will, because he was highly rated at Rubin Kazan, and like you could see there was a player in him, like his positioning and everything else for a large part was decent for a defender, and he was making silly mistakes and challenges, and he was a wee bit rash at times, but I think that was nerves more than anything else. But look, at as times went on, he's developed into a top defender for us, and he's been instrumental in us keeping the record we've got in terms of, at least minimising the amount of goals we're conceding. Like anybody, he has games where he's off, but I think by and large it's been a successful signing for us, or at least for me. I would certainly say so. And like he says, he probably had maybe one of his best games in a Celtic jersey the other day, and I thought that it was fantastic. And you can see as times went on, he's starting to the wee things where he was making rash challenges, or it was a wee bit too quick, making silly mistakes. That side of his game seems to be sort of start ironing that out, and it's becoming less and less and less. There was, like you mentioned, that back pass. This is something that really, really pisses me off, though, because I know Ange wants to play out for the back, right? And I don't know if I'm alone here, and I'm sure I'm not, but the whole why play out for the back, I get it. You want to play out for the back and everything else. But there's times where you're just watching and you're seeing that they've got a high line and you're still playing it out at the back, and you're just inviting pressure, and you're making it difficult for yourself at times. And it's thankfully for us, we've not had any really bad mistakes where it's cost us.
Oh, don't be saying that now. Go on.
I know. I've jinxed it. I've just fucked it. But I mean, we haven't had these really humongous errors, but every time it happens, you're just expecting it. There was a game, I think it happened in England maybe the other week, and you saw exactly what can happen. I think it was actually
the Man City goalie.
Aye.
It wasn't Ederson, but it was other goalie.
Aye, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Look how good Man City have been. They've been dominant for years, and it's all top players that go to that club. Nobody that signs for Man City at this stage would be classified as shite, right? And you've got
no chance.
No, I mean, with the money and everything else, who are you talking about, Stephen?
I have no idea.
I think what you said that some Man City players were shite.
No, what I said was there's no habit of signing shite players, right? So regardless of what you think of them, they're all top tier talent. Like, I don't think that's arguable, but it showed that it doesn't matter how good a team you are or how good a player you think you are. Passing the ball around the back like that, you're inviting pressure, and like you're inviting stuff to happen, and it's only a matter of time before it does. Thankfully, it's not happened yet, but it really, really pisses me every time it happens, man. My heart's in my mouth, and I'm just like, fucking hell.
I don't and I think obviously at times, I can't remember, but probably at times on Sunday I was telling Joe Hart just to get it along. I probably was, but it's one of the ones that if that's the way Ange wants to play, we're just going to have to accept it, and we might get caught out from time to time. We might lose a couple of goals for it. It's you either believe in your system or you don't. And I don't think Ange is the type of guy that's got to just know that.
There's a lot of love for you in the comments here, John. Geo Patrick, spot on, John. Players should send it up the park, but we do need a GG.
I agree with that. I agree with that, but like, you don't want Ange just abandon the way he wants to play. There's no point saying, because
you don't have to abandon the way you want to play, though.
That's not going to give the defenders confidence if you're saying, "Oh, can we just stick it long there?" Because they players are probably going to, he doesn't.
That's a good point.
I think one of the problems with it for me is we're doing it. Like, see if you're doing it, and they've sort of, most teams that play against us don't really put that much pressure on us. They don't press us that high. They've not got such a high line, so. Usually, once we're back in possession, they're all getting back because we can catch them on the break quick enough. They know that they need to get back into position, and we've got room to pass it out. See, when you're doing that, like in Europe, teams aren't going to do that.
But you've got to be confident. You've got to be confident in yourself to play.
I fully agree. But
and then Ange's, if you've actually seen one of the open goal interviews, Ange said he wants his players not to be scared to make mistakes. He wants to play through the back, and he's wanting them not to be scared of losing the ball and something bad happening, because he says you start doing that, you'll start not doing it. So
listen,
it's.
But
for
what
me,
I'm saying is,
it's here to stay. I think.
I'm
really going to see.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that's what we should be doing. What I'm saying is there's a time and a place for it. Joe Hart is experienced enough a keeper to know.
Agree.
Look, see when you're playing the ball out for the back like that, you can see where the opposition players are, and you must be able to look at it and say, right, they're pressed. They've got quite a high line here. I've got two options, and that's it. Because you've got inverted wing backs now that as soon as Joe Hart's got that ball, are making their way up and in, and you're passing it out to your two central defenders, and everybody else is trying to get up the park, and you're not leaving yourself with many options. And if you've got 1, 2 or 3 players pressing you, you've got no choice but to pass it back. And that at that point, you're inviting pressure and you're inviting problems.
There should be midfield three should be coming looking for it then.
There absolutely should be, and even the wing backs, your inverted wing backs, should be staying back to sort of guys options as well. I'm just saying, if to me, like I say, Ange obviously knows a fucking hell of a lot more than I do. That's why he's in the position he is, and why I'm sitting here talking about it.
Okay.
But I'm saying, like, as a fan, we can see, sometimes you can see things for watching it on telly that you can't see sitting pit side, and you get a different perspective. And for me, it just seems silly that, like I say, I don't think we're going to stamp it out. I'm not saying we should, but there's a time and a place, and you can see, and you should be able to judge against your opposition how far or how high they're pressing, and where that line is, like whether or no that's the right option. And sometimes we make the mistake where we're like,
but a team that is pressing you high and you play through that, you just bypass our whole midfield and you're away. It's like a risk reward thing.
It is a risk reward thing, but that's what I'm saying. How long before that we're punished for it? Because it's all right doing it against Ross County. It's all right doing it against St Mirren. It's all right. I just love an argument. It's all right when you're doing it against these guys.
But it's probably got to happen. As I said, Ange doesn't want the players to be scared of conceding a goal for it.
I mean, and as a fan, though, you're like, why the fuck are we doing
I know, but that's because you're fans. You jump on everything. It's what we do. So
do you ever watch that?
Premises of being a fan.
Do you ever watch that show on YouTube, the coaching masterclass? I felt like it was in it. I felt like it was watching it.
Get up my job tomorrow. Get up my job tomorrow.
I think to be fair, like, to be honest, I do get that feeling sometimes to kick along, but Postecoglou's not going to revert away from that. He wants his players to be comfortable in that system. That's why you see Joe Hart flying back to get the ball, start the game quickly, pass it from the back, get the players involved. And the point in the inverted fullback role, what was quite interesting with yourself, John, they come in, and in my opinion, the wingers should drop in where they were, so that creates a space and a pass and an opportunity for the team to get forward. It's all different perspectives. Is it a mindset thing? We were going to get up the pitch because we're used to that under previous regimes, but at the moment, I'm enjoying it. And as you said, we've had no major scares. It's sparked the kind of a debate in the comment section here. I want to bring some of it up. Uncle John's come in. I'm going to say it. Rangers haven't got where they are in Europe for being donkeys. They have a great physical team and aren't scared to take it on. That's why they aren't scared to play Celtic high up. I think you covered that pretty well there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would agree.
And then Ryan Kelly comes in. The style of play will have its good days and bad days. The end of the Alkmaar game at home is the only time we've seen Ange scrap the back passing, hoping that can be done when needed in the future. So, again, there's difference of opinions. Do you know what I mean? And in terms of a player who starts it quick, Franny, and plays it from the back, it's Joe Hart. And again, I thought he was absolutely vital. That cracking save from, was it Arfield? He tried to do a fancy back heel, and he saved it, and he got up again and saved the rebound shot from Ryan Jack, the best player in the world, according to some people. But again, how vital has he been?
I mean, I've spoke about him so many times throughout the season. He's been absolutely magnificent. What's this?
Some of these boys, they have been called out.
Just we know where you stay. That's the problem.
That's
where you stay. Joe Hart is what can you say about the guy? We've not already said it was one. I don't know if he maybe split the fan base early on when he first came in the door. He was sort of wasn't really in the plans at Tottenham and things like that, and there was no doubting the guy's ability. And it was, I think, just probably most people's concern was, can he get back to that? And I think week on week, and he's sure that he had couple of tricky moments earlier on in the season. I think it was against Betis where we could see the goal where he just came out. It was just bad communication, but new to the team, it can happen and stuff. You're getting that understanding with your defenders and things like that. But it's rare that he's made a mistake after the sort of first 10, 12 games of the season. I don't remember any of it when I'm sitting thinking, God, he's been an absolute disaster. But it's probably. Because I think, to be fair, I think Willie was maybe, I think me and Ross, every time he sprinted for the ball for a bye kick, me and Ross are like, slow down. And this is where I'm just got to totally contradict myself in the sense that I was just arguing with John about saying we'll no punt it long because we need to stick to Postecoglou style. And obviously Postecoglou style was get the ball back, get it playing quick, and me and Ross are sitting going, no, slow the fuck down. Just calm down. And then Joe Hart, I think Willie was like, no, get it going. And then, well, Joe Hart was in Willie's camp because it's ridiculous how quick he wants that ball back at times. I mean, it's great 9 times out of 10. The one time it was for Sunday for me where I was one Postecoglou abandon what he believes in and stuff. But Joe Hart he's been absolutely frightening and arguably the best goalkeeper in the league. But I think Craig Gordon, well, he is for me is probably the best goalkeeper in the league. But Craig Gordon's probably been the best goalkeeper this season. But it's simply just down to he's probably got more work to do.
Yeah.
But Joe Hart has been an absolute stalwart, great, like a captain. Well, he's not been the captain. Well, he's been the captain, but he's not the captain. He's got that leadership qualities. You've seen some interviews coming out and stuff, heard some things and that, and he's been over the course. He's won big honours and stuff, so he knows what it means to get over the line. And that his experience has obviously been vital for. Although it's his debut season at a new club, he's been at the top and stuff. He knows the gig. It's not his first rodeo. He knows what he's doing. And so I think his experience has been absolutely vital. And I don't think it would have been. Personally, I don't think it would have been a Anand's type signing when he wants a keeper that play with his feet, and Joe Hart's not the best with that. I think he's improved, but he's not the best. But it was one of the ones similar to McCarthy. I know they came in the same day. I'd be surprised if it was a Postecoglou type sign, but he's probably like, I need a keeper. Joe Hart's being a good keeper. We'll see what we can do. And for £1 million, it's what a signing. What a signing.
I think as well, John, Ian McIntosh, another great point here. The good thing about Hart is when he makes a mistake, it doesn't mess with his head one bit. People obviously referring to the goal he conceded, obviously at his front post, near post, Sakala, although it was a powerful shot, should he have got it? It's 50-50 for me.
So.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But as Ian McIntosh says here, it didn't mess with his head. He made that vital save to kind of get the draw for us, and he's been an absolute cracking player for us throughout the season.
Absolutely. And like Ian said, it obviously doesn't affect him, but I think that again that comes down to his experience. He's no a younger keeper, a less experienced keeper maybe would have let that get to his head. But like Franny said, and like Ian was saying there, it doesn't get into his head. It doesn't. It's not something that can sort of put him off his game, so to speak. He's far too experienced for it. He's played at the very highest level, and it's evident when you watch him. Like you said, he's got the leadership qualities as well, and he's the difference in the sort of defensive attitude as well. Like he's commanding his back line as well, and he's got them confidence in each other, which I think breeds confidence throughout the rest of the team. And that I think that's been vitally important. But I think Hart's, like you said, other than Vickers, I think Hart's probably been the best signing this season, easily.
I agree. I think Joe Hart's been fantastic. And it's
another thing as well, like a keeper breeds confidence in the back four, and the back four breed confidence in a keeper. Like they get confidence in a good keeper as well. So and it's evident when you look at the goals conceded column.
Yeah, and talking about changing the perception of a man, do you know what I mean? Because before he came in, I thought he was stuck up, arrogant, full of himself, but he's none of them things. It's crazy what the media does to you when you believe it. But we'll move on.
Back on to say a football fan, Stephen. Yeah, you just turn 100%. Like that, player. You turn like that.
Yeah, especially when he plays for your club, it makes that a wee bit easier. But I mean,
just like all the Rangers fans with John Terry. Suddenly he's
see the reaction to that, all this God save the Queen stuff, and I was like, what?
Brilliant.
he's just up watching the game. Do you know what I mean? Relax. But see, in terms of, we'll move on to Felipe Jota, and the news came out today, John, that in Portuguese media, although some people believe it's like rehashed kind of news, that he's confirmed he wants to stay. Celtic are currently activating the buyout clause of 6.5 million, whatever it is. And just 2 weeks ago, we were on this podcast discussing who would rather have Carter Vickers or Jota, because at that time, Jota wasn't on his top of form. But since then, I think it's 3 assists and a goal. Is it a no-brainer to get him on that permanent contract?
Listen, see, if he wants to stay here, then absolutely. At the end of the day, if you've got an agreement, a pre-contract thing, or something in the loan agreement where you've got an option to buy and the fee's already been agreed, if Celtic want to take that up, then it's down to the player. And we've always said that if the player wants to be here, then he'll stay. Jota's never, to me, looked like a player that wants to leave. He looks like he's really enjoying his football. It looks like he's buying into the whole sort of ethos of the club. It looks like he's loving it, and it doesn't look to me like somebody who doesn't want to be here. But in saying that, up until recently, I think that the Benfica, the reason this news has come out is Benfica has just said that there's going to be a change in management.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that news coming out, it was this guy who was at Benfica wanted to offer him a new contract and keep him sort of there and whatever else. So again, this is the news coming out of Portugal, so I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt at the minute. I want to sign both Vickers and Jota. I think we need to. But listen, if it's true and Jota does what, like, again, as William always says, and I'll give him another shout out, when he's standing with the flag and everything's official, then fine. But until then, listen, I think it's great news for us. If and like I say, of course we want to keep him. Why wouldn't we? He's been a fantastic player for us, and I know he went off the boil a wee bit, for whatever reason. Maybe he just needed a couple of games just to get back into the swing of things. It happens, like I say, players on the there's very few players that are consistent their entire career. Like, it just doesn't happen.
We're not signing elite players that are going to be bang on it every week.
Aye,
exactly. But for us, Jota's been fantastic for him, and like I say, he's played his part. He's contributing, and he's scoring goals. He's assisting. He's doing everything you'd expect to play today. He's exciting to watch. He's good with the ball at his feet, and he's a talent. There's no getting away from it. He's absolutely a talent, and getting him for 6 million is a steal, because in this market, this day and age, a player like that, if he was playing in England, he would be triple that easy.
Yeah,
maybe even more. But the fact that we're able to get him for that, then I think that's great.
I think I heard one of the sports sound commentators know the pre-build-up to the game. I was driving down to my grandma's in the car, and he said, I think it was Jota was playing in the championship in England, he'd be worth 18, 19 million quite easy for that move. 100%. And I think it was fair to say as well, Franny, John made the point again, he did go off the boil. Players, as you said, we're not signing the finished article, we're signing like a development player to come into the game and possibly sell on for a higher sell-on kind of fee. You look at Jota, since we said that in the podcast, that debate happened, it was a good debate, by the way. He's had 3 assists, a fantastic ball for Hugo when his first start back for a goal. His goal against Rangers, basically doing Boris it's like a clipper again, like a Bata done. And then a couple of nice balls over to Mieta, which he should have finished. I think it's fair to say he's starting to peak again towards the end of the season, and he's well worth that 6.5 million, isn't he?
Oh, definitely. Like we obviously said ages ago when we knew this, it's including Carter Vickers. That's 2 players that, even at the 6 million outlay for each, it's players you'll make profit on. There's no way you can't make a profit on the guys, and it does, like it says. I think Paul Giet is on the money here, Stephen. I think he does love all that. I mean, it probably would get that at Benfica. He's, by all accounts, he's a Benfica fan, so if he went there and played regular, like we were saying, when he was getting reportedly offered 3 times his wages, whatever that is, to go and play at Benfica, it was one of the ones you could understand it if he actually went back there and fancied a crack at it. But if these rumours are true, it's only great for Celtic. It does look like he likes playing for Celtic. He likes the whole atmosphere around it, how we seem to treat players, how we treat that, his type of player and things like that. It seems a good character. You see, like, going back to like the Christmas advert, how he gets involved in the George Michael type thing and that, and stuff like that. So it looks like he's a good character to have around the place, because you don't want he didn't want EPL robots in that, like Dele Alli talks about his teeth, his morning brush and teeth routine and all that. It's like, fuck off, man. Just lighten up a wee bit, man.
All that shirt swapping and all.
Just you want a wee bit. People that can laugh at themselves and that, and Jota kind of looks like, seems that type of guy. Juranovic looks the same, like a good character. So Jota's the type of player as any team, but especially at Celtic, it's the type of player with like a guy that bums off seats, he's exciting and stuff, like John said, got great feet. Could be doing that. Hopefully, if we do sign him during pre-season, he works on his shooting and that, because that's questionable. But just that whole cutting innings, cutting inning on Chung, but it's just I hope it's a deal. I know we spoke if it was one or the other, and I think it was one of the ones because Jota kind of he had a wee dip in form, and it was probably like I said last week. I think it was young wingers will go through dips in form and stuff like that, just learning a position. But I think, like John said, Bay Carter Vickers and Jota, it was always down to the players. It was never, I don't think it was a financial problem for Celtic. We wouldn't have negotiated their fees if we didn't think we were going to meet them. I don't think it would have been reliant on Champions League football for Celtic persuasion, but I think getting into the Champions League probably helps us get these boys for their persuasion, because it's a bigger sort of, as much as we didn't like to say it, it's the boys aren't probably looking at going, I'm going to spend the rest of my career at Celtic. They've got a bigger window to put their sale in if they're in the Champions League, and now that's pretty much secured for me, it's maybe that's why they're looking at going, it's maybe worthwhile staying at Celtic. I'm going to play regularly. I'm guaranteed Champions League football. And even if hopefully it's not a season, because I would love nothing better for Postecoglou to keep the nucleus of this team, the main players of this team, for 3-4 seasons. I think that could be amazing. But I hope these stories about Jota are true, because he's a really good talent and top player.
So do I. I mean, to have Jota and Carter Vickers secured for next season would be fantastic.
And a big boost for everybody. Big boost for everybody, I think.
There's rumours going around that the Carter Vickers deal isn't as much as first thought. There's been 2-3 million banded around, so let's hope that is the case when we get to it and tied up. And we'll move on to the Player of the Year awards for the PFA, Scottish Premiership Player, that kind of thing, John.
By the way, just to stop you, thank God that Russian teams are at the Champions League, because Villarreal are winning 2-0.
What?
They're winning 2-0 now, aye.
Whoa. No inkling on that scoreline, but that's a shot. That's a 2 each in aggregate.
Aye, 2 each in aggregate. Aye.
Oh God,
2 each in aggregate.
That's a tough one. It's pissing the rain, isn't it? I've seen the rain beforehand, like it's proper gone down. Like, but move on to the Player of the Year awards. Thanks for that wee side note, Franny. Postecoglou won the Manager of the Year. Cal McGregor won Player of the Year. Abada won Young Player of the Year. Celtic's Jacanta won Women's Player of the Year. Tom Rossi's won Goal of the Season. And I had to go back and find this comment because I thought it was hilarious before you come to yourself, John. Joe Finley said, multiple Player of the Year, Goal of the Season, Young Player of the Year, Manager of the Year, anything else on it with Celtic on it. Make no mistake, they are spewing. We're having more parties than number 10. And that's exactly what it feels like, John, doesn't it?
Outstanding. I know that. I mean, well deserved. Clean sweep of all the awards, and like you can't argue with any of them, really. I think there was a lot of people upset that Postecoglou won it because there's guys doing just as good a job with less money and everything else. Everybody likes to come back and say, but Celtic have got money, they're expected to win. We weren't expected to win at the start of the year. They were even saying that we'd be lucky to even finish second. We could be split. We could be coming third. The rebuild was too much for any new manager to take on. It was going to take years. So the fact that he's come in and we're about to win a league and cup double in his first year, and not only was everybody wrong, but he's proved everybody like that he is a cracking manager, and I think it's well deserved. Fantastic season for Celtic players in general, and like he says, if it wasn't Calmac, you've got other guys that could step in and were potentially winning that award as well. So, it was outstanding.
Unbelievable. And Red Scotland's in, comrades. Nice to have you along, Red Scotland. And Franny, welcome, you look at it as well. What's this? I'll put that on in a second. But you look at it as well. Clean sweep of awards, League and Cup double. In terms of a season, you didn't expect it to start. John's right. I seen the video go around Twitter the other day, kind of a mashup of all the the Rangers podcasters, YouTubers saying, some of them saying, we're lucky to finish third. He'll be sacked by Christmas. He'll be gone. But here he is standing, making speeches when the manager of the year award. Cal McGregor beside him, the captain. It's fantastic to see, isn't it?
There's nothing brilliant to see, and it's testament to the season that this poor Celtic's put together, because apparently a bad team. So
worst Celtic team in years, apparently.
I know, and they're I mean, let's take that away from it. Rangers are clearly a decent team. You didn't get to a European semi-final if you're a bad team. But how we could, like, the league table doesn't lie. It's all about consistency of the league table. And Postecoglou, like John said, the guy has worked wonders. I think Dick Campbell is a valid candidate for the position to potentially. I think Dick Campbell and Robbie Nielsen are potentially guilty of when the voting's done for this competition, for this award. It'd probably be more fairer if it was done at the end of the season, because Dick Campbell could potentially get Arbroath into the Premiership, and they're a part-time team. I mean, that's ridiculous. I still think Postecoglou's totally deserving of the award, but there would be a better case for Dick Campbell than if Robbie Nielsen manages to win the Scottish Cup. He's got a better argument to put forward for it, I think. But for me, as it stands, you could, without seeing every goal, I think the only honour you could argue against, for me anyway, is Tom Rogic's. There potentially was a better goal. There's potentially a better goal that could be scored. There's games still to play. So, I mean, that's sort of a wee bit of flaw in the sort of the honours. But yeah,
we're not here to find flaws. We're here to celebrate, Franny.
I'm just saying, well, that's what I'm saying. It's Postecoglou, like, the players he lost, he spent 20 million, 25 million, but we spent that last season, and look at the season we had. Spending the money doesn't guarantee the success. It's shown that, it puts you in a favoured position, but we lost our record signing in Edward. We lost Christie, by all accounts, who was a key player. Ayer, a key player. Scott Brown, a new manager. I think it was a turnaround there, about 30 odd players. It was to actually just be competing. Never mind winning the league, which we'll be doing. To be competing would have been a great season, but it looks like we're going to win a league and cup double. So I don't see any other valid candidate for other than Postecoglou. Callum McGregor, again, is an 8 out of 10 every week, so I think he's totally worthy of that award as well. It's just Mr. Consistency, and then he's done it as a captain as well, and got to pick a league and cup double. It's hard not to. Craig Gordon potentially could be hard done by. Carter Vickers again, another one. Leila Bada. I mean, is there another actual candidate for that young player season? Like 26 goal contributions. I mean,
unbelievable.
Rangers fans are wanting Bassey, and even though he doesn't qualify, so the folk that are like, Bassey's had a great season. He's fucking 23.
They baffle me.
He's 23. You've got to be 21. That's 23.
I think.
I just who won it. I don't. The goal one, you could argue. There's probably arguments for a better goal in the season, especially when there's games left. But even if Dick Campbell and Robbie Nielsen finish off getting promotion and win the Scottish Cup, I think it would be hard to argue. Well, it'd probably be hard to argue against Postecoglou getting the Manager of the Year award.
I think Christie comes in here to finish this kind of point off. Anne's come into a place he's never been with, no more than a suitcase, nothing else, and he has now won more trophies in one season than the Sundays having 10.
And decent clothing because he had to put a jumper on.
Which he's incidentally made the most sought after fucking
a jumper.
Good bit of marketing though by the Celtic people, isn't it? But like, you look at it, Franny made a good point about money. Spending money doesn't guarantee success, John, and it's kind of a lovely tail into the next kind of phase of this podcast. And has Celtic become another Lowell and Sons football club, or is it a forward-thinking appointment with Mark Lowell coming in as head of recruitment from the Manchester City group? He was heading up their scouting, their recruitment for the whole group, the whole organisation for the last 10 years. I'll give my opinion first here. I think I would have been annoyed previously, probably, but because he's worked with Ans before, I like that. Ans knows him. He trusts him. He worked with him at the Monaros when he was in Japan for 4 years. Also heading up an organisation like Manchester City, it's no mean feat. You're on about looking after all these clubs, and I feel like you're going to disagree with me here. But
I'm not going to.
I think
nothing.
I think
carry on.
I think it's a forward-thinking appointment, one that I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And I feel self-conscious that wee bastard's laughing at me now, but go ahead.
Listen, it's absolutely nothing to do with what you were actually saying or the point you were making. It's just, you know about the in-joke about you always getting names wrong and mispronunciation of certain words. And just
what did I say wrong?
Postecoglou's previous club, Maneros.
Yokohama Minaros or whatever. Doesn't matter.
It just made me laugh.
Right, go. What's your opinion on it?
No, listen. If anybody's listened to me on this podcast previously or knows me at all, when it comes to the Celtic board, I'm not exactly complimentary, we'll say. I'm very, very critical, and I have been, and I'll continue to be, because I think they need to be held to account for certain things. And Law was no different. I think Law done a fantastic job when he was with us. But since he's left, there's been a lot of talk about, he's still a member of this, that, and the next thing. He's still got shares. He's still got a controlling stake. He's got a say, blah, blah, blah. I think what we need to do is, far too many people at the minute are focusing on this appointment and just seeing his name and only looking at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, in the last 10 years in England, Man City have been the most dominant side in England. That's not you can't argue with that. That's just fact. And he's been an integral part of that, and being their head of recruitment and being part of their sort of scouting network for the City group. And you don't get that position just because of your name. But Man City don't give a fuck who he's related to. It's not to do with Law. He's got it because he's good at his job, and he's managed to keep it for 10 years because he's good at his job. If anything, we owe the fact that he's the son of Peter Law. That's a positive in this case, because if he had no links to us through Peter and whatever else, he would never come to us. There's no way a guy in that position is leaving Man City to come to Celtic. And if anything, we need to thank the fact that he's got that link through Peter Law, is because it's probably helped play a part in bringing him here. And in addition to that, and in saying that, you've got the fact that he has worked through the City group. He's got links to Postecoglou, and he's worked with him for 4 years at his previous club. Ange has already come out, and Celtic have released a statement. They've says that Ange is happy that he's there. He knows how Ange works. He knows how his teams work. He knows the kind of players Ange needs and what Ange is looking for. And that helps us. And I think that it's an absolutely fantastic appointment. And you just take his name out of it, it's massive for us. And it also shows that Ange... And listen, a lot of people are maybe saying that I'm seeing certain stuff flying about saying, this stinks. It's like the board are going behind Ange's back and making appointments and everything else. I think Ange's rubber stamped this. He knows who the guy is. The fact that he's got links to the City group and Law is irrelevant here. And if anything, like I said earlier, the fact that we should be actually grateful that we've managed to get a guy like that in through the fact he's linked with Peter, because we weren't getting him otherwise, and it's massive.
Yeah, 100%. And come to yourself, Ronnie, here. Joe Finley, does anyone think the Law appointment had nothing to do with Ange? Can you imagine Ange having no say or accepting it? No way, this is planned 100%. A few more comments. Ange just personally backed him before and worked with him. Paul comes back in, Advance is happy, I'm happy. That's the same, the consensus within the chat at the minute. They're all chatting amongst themselves, which is great to see. Interaction is fantastic. But people, I agree with John, I've seen a lot of kind of people getting sticked last night for calling out the appointment, and it was kind of people were going back and forth with different arguments, and some of them were well put out. Yes, there's arguments with both sides, keep it along the amount of Celtic, blah blah blah. But for me, as I said, I think this Mark Lowell, as John said, if he had no links to us previously, he wouldn't come to us. There's not a chance he'd be going to another, like a PSG, a Bayern Munich or something like that. I think it's a forward-thinking appointment for the first time in a while in the backroom staff, and something I'm excited for.
Oh, no, totally. I think, I sort of, to be... I can't remember what I was going to say. I kind of lost my train of thought because John made a lot of good points that I was going to say, but I think one of the...
Stop watching that game.
I'm actually also trying to think what I was going to say.
It's half time.
It's half time, but I was kind of trying to think what I was going to say. But I think, like you were saying, if his second name wasn't Lowell, the section of fans that are against this appointment would have had absolutely zero care about it. They would have all been for it, absolutely all for it. And I remember what I was going to say, you could basically, if you believe in Ange, you've got to believe in this statement that it was Ange's choice. As simple as that. It's you can't sit and go, oh, we back Ange, I believe Ange, but then you didn't believe this statement. Because I think the way Ange has performed this season, the fact that he's got the league over the line, not officially, but he's got it over the line, he's got the board over the barrel. What he wants, he needs to get. And I think, like you boys have said, he's got connections with Mark Lowell. He worked with him for like the 4 years he's been with the City group. I know it's you must have heard we nuts and bolts gone there, Jed. But he's obviously got links to the City group. The Man City is not a club I'm a big fan of, but if there's any club that you want to kind of base your sort of team round and try and progress to look towards and follow, Man City is not a bad club to follow at the end of the day. So it's as an exciting appointment. I think you've got to be an idiot to suggest that Ange has not had any planning in this. I mean, like you say, Ange knows the guy, knows the guy personally. Ange has obviously been involved in this, and I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, Ange has maybe had conversations and said, what's the chances of maybe him coming in? He's maybe even had a word with Peter Long saying, couldn't see if you can have your word in your laddie's ear and stuff, and see if he's interested in coming here. Peter Law's probably had an influence in it. And this Mark Law's probably one of the reasons we've got... It's Franny well, why, Joe? And, that Mark Law was probably one of the reasons we've got Ange, because I mean Peter Law's came out and said he was one of the reasons we got Ange, but he's probably went to his son Mark and said, look, is there anybody within the City group that you think would be good for Celtic? And he's maybe came up with the name Ange. So we've maybe got this Mark Law to thank a lot for maybe suggesting Ange. So I mean, I think the majority of the fan base are for it. When I think if they seen that it hadn't worked with Ange, some folk would have thought it was that whole job for the boys type thing, which I would have understood to an extent. But then when you look into his thing, even taking the Ange side out of it, his connections with Ange, to be within the City group for 10 years, you've got to know what you're doing. And the contacts he'll have will be absolutely ridiculous. So I can't see anything but positivity with this appointment.
Mm-hmm. One of the most exciting things for me.
Appointment.
One of the most exciting things for me is, John, it's done before the summer transfer window.
Yeah.
It's forward thinking. I think that's exciting.
I think that's been an Ange thing. He's kind of been doing that. Obviously, the summer's a wee bit different. He had to do a big turnaround. But you look at January, it was a worst kept secret. The three Japanese boys were coming in. And then he obviously got the Riley deal done soon. Said there was no more business. There was no more business. It seems to want to get his business done early, which is great. It gives you the most time with the players or backroom staff and things like that.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else to add, John, on the mark?
Listen, as I say, it's absolutely, like you said, a forward-thinking appointment. It's a fantastic appointment. It's bigger than any appointment we could probably hope to get, and we need to be, like I say, we're going back to it, but we need to be grateful at the fact he's got that link to Peter. And the hatred for Peter is misguided as well, because he was fantastic for us.
John, that's me that contradicts myself.
No, I'm not contradicting myself. I've always said it. Listen, the job he done for us as a CEO was fantastic. As a CEO, you couldn't ask for better. He done a fantastic job for us. It's when he was interfering in other matters out with his remit, which was the problem, right? Mm-hmm. But that aside, you have to thank Peter for the job he's done. And since he's left, it doesn't bother me that he's still got shares. He's a fan, right? He's a fan of the club. It doesn't bother me he's still got shares. And if this is the kind of things, if you're using your network, your wider network,
is share saying no so he can keep a position on the European board or something like that? Like at
ECA, isn't it, or something like that?
Which can only benefit Celtic, surely, because you've kind of got to hope that he's kind of. But listen, in his corner when it comes things like that.
It doesn't bother me about stuff like that. What bothers me about the board is when they're doing stuff behind people's backs without their knowledge. Yep. We've seen it with Rodgers. We've seen it with Lennon. You know, backing your manager, making snide decisions, and that's the shit that pisses me off, and that's the stuff I've been very, very vocal about. This appointment isn't that, because again,
I don't think it's like
It's definitely no. And and this, like I say, in terms of his experience and everything else and what he's going to bring to us is absolutely massive. And I'll say it again, we need to thank the fact that he's Peter Loyal's son in this case, because we would never get an appointment like that without those connections. And like Franny says, the contacts he's going to have in the game through his 10 years working with the City group is going to be phenomenal, and it only benefits us. And when you're working with somebody that Ange trusts and he's got 4 years experience with, I mean, how can you possibly be looking at this as a negative thing? It baffles me.
It's the name. That's all. It's the name.
But that's what I'm saying. But people are just seeing the name and thinking that there's something bad happening and we're going behind Ange's back and all the rest of it.
The fact that he's worked with Ange for 4 years, to me, tells me he's an Ange signing. And then you look at the fitness guy that came in for Spurs. For me, that's no a board decision. That's an Ange decision. Then the analytics guy that came for Benfica. For me, that's all Ange. I'm not saying Ange Postecoglou specifically wanted that person.
The profile of the person.
That profile of the person, yeah. He's probably specifically wanted Mark Lowell when it became a possibility, but because he probably knew him personally. But these type of guys in the background, for me, show that they're
because I like it.
Type guys, because it's like when in the past that we had to go on for an analytics guy for Benfica. I don't think Rodgers would do things like that.
Ange has always said it, and you use that thing. He fits that profile, and this is something Ange is big on. Is a profile. You need to meet certain criteria, and Ange is obviously quite big on that because it's what he looks for in players. And you remember when we spoke to the boy David Webb, and he was telling he done a very similar thing. And when you look at an analytical side, when you're a player, they have to fit a certain profile.
And that's where a lot of teams are gone now, aren't it? They're going down that.
But this is the way football is now. Everything is so based on stats, and that it wasn't available to you before. You were just basing everything on what you could see. But now you've got all this data to go on, and they need to be able to do certain things. And I think it's a good move for us because it shows a modernisation.
Exactly.
Aye, exactly. But it shows the club moving forward. It's forward thinking, and it shows that Celtic are moving to a much more modern sort of thing, which we were screaming for at the start of the year when Don Mackay came out and he was saying, "Oh, the club's dated. We need to modernise within and on all this stuff." And then when he left, we're like, "What's going to happen?" But this is showing signs that we are moving in the right direction. You've got a manager now who is more than capable. You've got a guy he's worked with previously who has a network that probably is as good as anybody else in the game in terms of his scouting network, and he's going to be working directly with Ange and the board to bring the right players in. It's an incredible appointment. And like I say, his name aside, you could never hope Celtic to get in a guy of that stature and that much experience. So we owe the fact he's loyal. That's a bonus here.
If you're successful, other noise about who it is will go in the background. You just look at Nicholson. Everybody was up in arms.
Who?
Boy, exactly. When Nicholson, we're all moaning he's never said a word and things like that. Then you start winning things. Nobody's caring about who's in charge. I mean, rightly or wrongly, nobody's caring about all these guys in the background when you're successful to an extent.
It's 100%.
I think we can all agree it's a great appointment, and get to kind of bring the podcast to its end. Jed Thomas comes in with another great piece. Another 2 million in the bank, boys. While we're just sitting talking, Ryan Christie's being promoted to the English Premier League with Bournemouth, which is guaranteed. Sadly, well, if we're led to believe the transfer kind of things, another 2 million quid. So boosts the bank balance for the Champions League bounty. Hopefully, coming our way when we wrap up the league title. And in terms of the podcast, I want to say thank you to everyone who was watching. The interaction is fantastic. The chat's been non-stop. People talking to each other. Like and subscribe to this podcast. Share it as far as you can to all your mates, your family, all Celtic related groups, because we're just growing and we're loving every single second of it. And if you guys enjoyed this one,
it's been really, really good.
It's been good, It's been good. No quiz, no.
No quiz.
I tell you. You're getting hosting once a week and you're not even quizzing it when you're
That's what I say as well. Thanks, James. Another good talk, lads. Really appreciate that. That's good for you, isn't it? But until Friday, when we look ahead to the next game's Hearts, isn't it? And we'll be looking at it in depth and all that kind of thing. Stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.